Fun?
Why not?
I'm sure everybody's itching to go back down to New Orleans. Think you want to go? All right, we got a show, guys. Let's get started.
All right, let's do it.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast. Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, and when you sign up, choose your offer, find out why, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365. We're also hanging out today in the Toyota Lounge. We're more in the Camry. Small little lounge.
Yeah,
it is
just a two-seater,
Yeah, just a little two-seater, two-man game, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Kind of enjoy. I'm excited for off-day shows.
Sure, yeah.
Topical, get into some topics here that we don't always get to go in depth on, including a Jamal Murray quote from last night that, when I heard it, I wanted to run through a wall.
Man, sometimes the quotes, they can tell you a lot, man. They can tell you a lot about where a team is at.
This is why it's great when players give you the time of day. When they actually reveal something, you're like, you know what? Hell yeah, man. We're also going to talk about something. Murray, Jokic, MPJ. Is the key all three of them somehow finding the perfect synergy? Have we ever found it yet? Is this a pipe dream? Is it a unicorn we're looking for? How meaningful has this streak been? And then our favorite moments. That's the show today. Looking forward to it. I got Brendan Vogt in the house.
Man, another day, another show, and they're all fun right now. On one hand, these fellas need the rest. They need the All-Star break. On the other, I wish there were more games to watch, man. They're fun to watch right now.
I'm going to Mexico.
You are?
Every year I do this with my family.
That's
I go,
right.
yeah, because I don't see them for 5 months after this. So I go. I try to take them out. We do a lot of dolphin rides.
That's how
different
the players
things.
feel too. I think Porter. Sometimes Porter will be really honest. He'll pull the curtain back, and guys really lock in after the All-Star break. What a treat, though, to see the fellas focus heading into the All-Star break, put themselves in a good spot.
I don't even know how well we'll talk about it in the streak part. I don't even know how well focused they were. They were professional. You know what I mean? Like, they got their job. They did their job. But we'll see if there's a whole other gear. I kind of think there are. There's little hints of it. We're going to start, though, by doing some hangover takes, Kale. What do you say? Just two people here today. Yeah, just like a quick hangover take. We always do a little quick hangover takes. Do you have any thoughts, now that you've digested last night's game, fully digested and processed it?
I mean, I don't know if my thoughts are necessarily super different from last night, but it's really, I think, that you've seen now, if you take them all as sort of pieces, like fractal pieces, you've seen, I think, everything you want to see from this team. Now you want to see them put it all together. Now you want to see, okay, when it is a healthy 9-man rotation, does the Russ 2-man game coexist with Jamal and Jokic 2-man game, which, by the way, fully back.
Yeah.
And where does Porter fit into that equation? Is there still room for Christian? Who starts? They got to put all these things together. But the truth is, man, we said we wanted to see Murray come around. We have. We said we wanted to see some improvement from Porter. I think we have. Yeah. We wanted to see Jokic has looked better. Christian Brown has looked better than we ever could have expected. So what you want to see now is all the bits of encouragement come together in a consistent stretch that makes you go, that's championship basketball, because they have the ingredients. They just got to make the meal, my man.
I love it, man. My hangover take is similar to this one, and it's also similar to something we talked about last night and something I've talked about a lot. Basketball's the best. It's the absolute best, man. I love this sport. And I often say basketball is a spiritual game. And the reason I always say that is because are not many parts all members of the same body? And the hand cannot say to the eye, I have no need for thee. Sometimes it can be the 15th guy on the roster that spurs the joy into a team that changes the course. And this is part of what's great and something that I think Jokic understands to his core. He is the fulcrum. He's the heartbeat. We would say that part of the body is more important than, say, the toe. But sometimes it can be the little pinky toe that comes to save the day. And this last 8-game win streak, the best win streak of the entire year, has really been about Zeke Naji and Jalen Pickett.
It's true, man.
And Christian Brown And it's so cool how a team can be joyless. And I honestly believe, and I know from talking to people of the team around the team, that loss to Minnesota, the loss to Chicago, the loss to New York, the team was joyless. I had even heard that they had a meeting, not like a players only meeting, and not even like a formal one, but like a sort of come to Jesus about like, guys, what's going on? Why are we so miserable as a team right now? Because we're on a 3-game losing streak, but before that we had won like 10 out of 11 or 10 out of 12. And yet there's a weight around us this late into the season. What is going on? And I don't know that anybody had the right answer to that, on the team. People kind of get together and spitball. But there is something to how do you get through 82 games mentally and physically? But mentally, how do you get through it? You have to have these little wins along the way.
Big time.
And sometimes the win of Jalen Pickett playing a little booty ball, doing a little circus around, a little rodeo around the arena and then getting a left-handed layup. Sometimes those are the things that are like, hell yeah, that's our guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're our guys. We're each other. We're a part of this. And I just feel like that's what this last 2 weeks has been about. The team rediscovering this joy that comes from the wins that everybody gets along the way.
The joy from watching the other guy next to you get it done too. Malone talked at length about how he really feels that's something this team has had over the course of his tenure. And I would agree. But I also felt like it was missing to start this year. You could feel it. And even before that...
No, you could feel it big time.
Big time.
This was my point. You could feel it a lot.
And going to
Nobody was in the gym all summer. Guys showed up literally 12 hours before media day, like as if it was like, damn it, I'm at work now.
And I think you could pick it up going to the arena. Sometimes we say, well, the players take this stuff all lighter than we do, and they don't really mind every loss. But I actually felt like it was hanging in the air, man. Yeah. Like a cloud ready to unleash some rain, And it was... DeAndre even had that quote at one point in the year. Well, we haven't fractured yet. We haven't turned to the blame game yet. But, man, they got close. They did, I think. And to see them kind of be able to rally around this stuff while key guys are out, I think that can be the exact kind of jolt of inspiration and joy, injection of joy you need in the middle of a long regular season for a group that really feels like their biggest test will come in the playoffs. And so watching your brother get it done can be how you survive mentally a long, long stretch.
It's like the scene in the movie, and I know people sometimes hate when you compare sports to like war movies or anything like this, but it is the scene where it's like the group's been at battle for, again, I've been watching Band of Brothers and stuff. That's where all this comes from.
You can always tell what media we're watching by our analogies.
But, it's like you've been through like 3 or 4 battles and morale is low, and all of a sudden, there's a volleyball net somewhere, and it's like the guys just get to be guys again for like a short little period, and you're like, oh, man, it's saved us.
It's the Top Gun Maverick. The new one. He's like, you wanted a team? There's your team.
There's your team.
Playing two-way football. Not a thing, by the way. Not even conceptually a thing. Doesn't make any sense.
It's so dumb. Also the line where he's sitting back, you're like, oh, yeah, this guy's a genius. What a leader. So ridiculous, man. Yeah. So I think that's my hangover takeaway. But the vibes weren't high enough after what we just said and after the 8-game win streak. Jamal Murray, noted media hater, took to the podium yesterday to give an incredibly insightful and thoughtful answer. I want to play it for you.
It's the adjustments. You guys do not understand the amount of coverages and the timing as well that he's facing. I get blitzed, but I'll be aware of. Sometimes they might surprise me, whatever. But to be doubled every time you touch it, and know where everybody else is going to be on the court, and nobody else is going to move. And we're going to move where he knows you're going to move. But for them, we don't really always know what the defense is going to do and see all 5 guys. I know he's 7 foot looking over the defense, but like the consistency and how well he handles double teams, I think that is super impressive and something I like to add to my game when I'm playing and being blitzed or whatever. Just taking my time, taking an extra dribble. Sometimes he takes a certain angle to find a better one. So I just love watching him play and watching him figure it out. And it's even better when we can both play and have a kind of game like I had today, and whereas you're not going to stop him. You know what I'm saying? So it's just fun to have a running mate like that.
I mean, I love this. I love every single thing about it. Jamal Murray's had some bangers over the years, man. He's had some really insightful things, but this one to me, he has praised Jokic. All the guys have praised Jokic, like Aaron Gordon has gone out of his way and said things. He's praised him, but I love this one specifically because, one, it came off as so authentic because I think it was. he's been like, you guys don't understand. Like the timing, all of this stuff. Like I just watch him in awe. I love playing with him. But I love that he circled it back and he's like, but that's what I want too. Like it gave me a mold of player to strive to be. And I want to be that. And Murray's better at it than he gets credit for. In the playoffs last year, was one of my big notes is that he also was crushing in those decision makings and locked in. But I love that he views himself the way AG did 3 years ago about, well, how can I improve? I want to be like Yoke. I want to be the smartest guy on the court.
Yeah, sounded like a fan and a student of the game. And, Jamal in its own right, at his peaks, is a standout talent. So it's maybe you almost talk about him differently than that, right? Just kind of like a talented player, sometimes with star expectations, but really cool to hear him kind of almost fan out about it, right? And then it is true, man, when you watch other guys get doubled and blitzed, and it happens to Jamal a lot. In the last 2 years, it happens to Jamal a lot. He'll get blitzed in a pick and roll, and it's not always easy, man. And he's good at it. And then when the way you kind of almost hope a team does it to Jokic, you're not factoring in, can he handle it?
Right.
You're like,
right.
yes,
good
call, good choice.
Yeah.
And then Aaron Gordon dunks, and for other guys, that's something they're kind of constantly navigating and trying to understand and improve. That Anthony Edwards quote from earlier in the year. And for Jokic, it's part of every game he plays. And he's so consistent in making those reads. But to your ultimate point, hearing Murray on his big night sort of talk about Jokic in that way and what he wants to learn from him. That's the stuff fans love to hear.
Well, also, it's so opposite of what we've heard from Devin Booker. Don't double team me, man. Right. It kind of sucks. He's like, no, I want to be able to, like, you double me, I'm going to make you pay. That's what I want more doubles so I can learn to read it even better, which I think is kind of a cool little Easter egg in all of that. But, the admiration for Yoke and the wanting to grow from it to me is just so cool. And it gives us a vision of what it is Murray is trying to become as a person, as a basketball player. He's trying to become this guy and aspiring to be something that I think is great. Is he a good 3-point shooter? Pretty good.
I think so.
Is he good mid-range?
Yeah.
Pretty good in the pick and roll?
Yeah, he is.
So I love that he looks at those things because a lot of players are like, I'm going to add another crossover. So now I have 2 crossovers I can get to. It's like, no, he's trying to strategically figure it out. The last point I'll throw to you, I've made this reference before because I only have 5 references I can ever make. They say of the game of Go, I don't know if you've ever played. It's like more complex than chess. It has infinitely more things that can happen. But they say that the great Go players act fully off of intuition. And when you break it down, they can explain why, but they're not making their decisions based on that explanation. They're going from A to D. And then they can walk you to B and C. But there's almost like they're not doing that consciously. They just feel out the game. That's what basketball is. And this thing about how Yoke plays, he's not sitting there going, if that guy cuts, I'm going to do this or that.
Yeah.
He just feels it.
Yeah.
And then like you can go to the film and be like, well, I saw that guy cut and I knew that. But that's not what he's doing. He's skipping all those steps and just feeling it. And I think... And that's what Murray's talking about of like, you guys don't understand all the coverages. Like sometimes a team will surprise me or whatever, but I want to get to the point where it's in my DNA.
Right.
It's just in my cellular level.
Chess players talk about this too. Their real genius is filtering out the details.
Yeah.
So to a novice, you're looking at all the possible moves they may make, but to them, they cut out the noise and it's quite simple. And so I think there's, that's a bit more of an intellectual act than the intuitiveness that is a team sport like basketball, a bit more like poetry in motion. But yeah, man, it's actually not that he sees everything. It's that he cuts all of it out and just sees the thing.
Yeah.
And can he even to the point where he just feels it. So really cool for Murray. And by the way, Murray talking about that on a night when he had 55 points. And it was about him as an isolation scorer. And it wasn't like, this is what makes me the best.
Yeah. I want to score 50 every night.
It wasn't about give me the ball and here's my bag.
Yeah.
He wanted he wants to keep learning and growing as a player. So those are the things you love to hear from athletes. And Murray, much like Murray on the court, Murray off the court, part of the source of frustration is that I actually know you're really smart. I know you're really insightful,
100%.
and I want to hear it from you because I know you know more about basketball than me. I'm not here to tell you anything. You tell me.
By and large, athletes are so much more interesting than the persona they portray.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Murray, none more so than Murray. The last one on this is Murray and Jokic still have runway. And like we wonder about how long will both of them play together, but it's like that's the commitment. You know what that tells me? 3 years from now, that duo will be even smarter and more cohesive. And we think that they're already a 100 at that, but he's like, no. There's more for us to tap into that, and I just love it.
It was really cool hearing him say, too, I've just been here for 9 years, and even though he does say those guys, and the truth is those guys have largely changed. There has been a revolving door, but there's Murray knowing what to do with Jokic on the floor. That's not something you have to put a ceiling on, you know? And these guys are all still young enough. We talk about it with Jokic, too. They could all come back and very reasonably be better players the next time they come back and play, and that was part of what we were hoping to see from Murray in the start of the year, right? Is we know you're so good, but you can keep getting better. But now that we're here, it's great to hear those quotes, great to hear him thinking that way, and most importantly, it's great to see him playing well because that inspires the ultimate belief. No, this isn't just a good team. This is a team that can get it done.
We're off and cooking, baby. It's going to be a great show. If you're enjoying it, throw us a like. Make sure you're subscribed. Let's take our break. On the other side, we're going to talk about the big three and what it could take to get the most out of them from here on out.
Hey, one neat thing about the great state of Colorado, all the ways you can recreate responsibly and having fun from outside to inside, from great breweries to great dispensaries as well, namely our friends at Live Well. They have 25 convenient Colorado dispensary locations with a premium selection and expert service that awaits you. That last part's important. You may think you know what you're going in there to get. The game has changed, folks. It's a very, very complicated game now, and there are all types of strains and products you can get. So maybe you tried one, you felt a little anxious. That may not be your relationship with marijuana. It could have just been your relationship with that strain. Talk to your bud tenders, figure it out, and most importantly, when you're there, mention code DNVR25 in store because you will receive 25% off one regular price item. Restrictions do apply. And if you're looking to buy in bulk, that item could be an ounce. Why not? 25% off. What a deal. What a treat. Head to Live Well. 25 convenient locations. And another way that you can recreate, please do it responsibly, is with the great taste of Miller Lite. I love Miller Lite because drinking beers is fun, gaining weight is not. And I am on the wrong side of 30, folks. And when I drink a beer, I feel one beer fatter, 1 unit of beer fatter. Not with Miller Lite, because it's just the great taste that I come to expect from a beer without all the stuff that I don't. You know what I mean? It's light, the original light beer, 96 calories, just 3.2 grams of carbs per 12 ounces. Miller Time is always a good time. The original light beer since 1975, still the best one. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Miller Lite, great taste, 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/DNVR. Find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. You know about Miller Lite. Tastes like Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
All right, back here, segment 2, DNVR Nuggets Podcast. Also, make sure you're subscribed on your podcast app because we got to, if you ever missed the show, you can have it in your car, like on Spotify, where you say play DNVR Nuggets. Very easy. Make sure you're there. Leave a 5-star rating and review if you can do that favor for us. We've seen Jokic be the best version of himself all year long. He's the one steadying force. We've seen the Murray-Jokic two-man game look great, and we've seen Murray have some great games. We saw Michael Porter-Jokic two-man game better than we've ever seen it before. We've seen Russ make an impact on this team, in particular with Jokic again. We've seen Christian Brown take a leap. There's a lot of good things, but they haven't all happened at the same time. And, Jokic had the famous text last year right after the All-Star break. I hope and imagine he'll send another one this year. But it probably is something along the line of we have a bunch of successes this year, but we haven't all succeeded at the same time and in the same direction. And to do that, we might need a little less of this, a little less of that, but it's going to be collectively greater.
Right.
And I'm just wondering, do you think we're ever going to get, not ever, do you think this season it's possible for us to get the best version of Mike that we've seen, the best version of Jokic, best version of Russ, best version of CB?
I think, yes. I think the hardest part of that equation is Mike, honestly, because I just think it's really hard to be a rhythm shooter who is his best with a higher shot volume. And then, hey, there's so many other guys that are going to do so many other things and should get the ball. And he understands this. And guys are face guarding you 30 feet from the hoop all night. Okay, now they ran a pick and roll in the fourth quarter and the defense collapsed and you're open from 3, hit the shot. And I just think staying aggressive is hard, man. I think people forget how hard it is to port talent into the third role spot. So I believe this offense is getting more egalitarian. I just think the tightrope walk with Mike in the third role is are you getting the best out of Mike in that role? Probably not. But can Mike help this team win in that role? I think so. So there's a balance to be found. I mean, there is only one ball, but I think a lot of it is going to be on Mike just keeping the right mindset, whether it's Jaden McDaniels in front of him, whether the ball's in Murray's hands, or whether it's him just taking a DHO and letting it fly. He just has to find a way to stay aggressive and confident, because when he does, this offense is nearly untouchable.
I don't know that it's necessarily more on Mike. I think there's a little bit of a push and pull that has to happen here. And if if Murray really wants to absorb Jokic's brain and like be on his level, I do think there's a level of, okay, what does he do well? What does Mike do well? He's more comfortable. He's even said, like, when Murray's out there, of course I have to be less aggressive, this or that. I think there's a layer of this that you can cultivate where it's like, well, not always.
Yeah.
Not always. Like, okay, we're probably going to end games with the Murray-Jokic two-man game, and we really need to start honing that because we've seen less of it this year than we have in previous years. We need to hone that. But where are there pockets to tilt it in the other direction? Where are there pockets to be like, you know what, Mike? They're wasting their best defender right now on me, and it's the second quarter.
Right.
Like,
go get the ball.
Let's throw the counterpunch now.
Yeah.
Oh, they're rim protectors out on Jamal. Go do your thing. Start to gun away. And to me, that's where this needs to shake out. I'm not sure Mike will have 3 straight 30-point games again this season because I don't know if it'll lend itself to that. But I do think he can have a lot more Porter quarters. And to me, that's where I think this needs to head. And to a much larger extent, Russell Westbrook. What Russ does is great. Is there synergy there, though?
Yeah.
Is there synergy to where everybody kind of understands what moment calls for which player to be their most aggressive?
That's a great point. And I think we kind of mentioned on last night's show, that's sort of it, in my opinion, is less than are they both going to light up the box score in the same game while Jokic gets a triple-double? Probably not. But can they kind of get to this matchup, this lineup calls for you or me more, and that transition is a little easier, as opposed to just this is the way we play and get used to it. And, the Lakers example is a really good one last year in the playoffs. Murray hit some amazing game winners. He just did not have the juice in that series. And there were moments at the tops of the fourth quarter and such where Porter looked around and went, oh man, I got to go get the ball right now. And he did. And he closed that series out. So kind of scaling in and out of these roles a bit more seamlessly as the matchup calls for it. I think that's kind of like where the growth can be and where where we can see it. Obviously, Murray's a point guard. Keeping Porter involved is his job too. But there's just a bottom line responsibility on Mike of just trying to find a way to keep the same mindset, whether he's involved or not.
If we look at the numbers right now, Michael Porter, Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic on the court together, plus 12.1 net rating. That's pretty comparable to what they were last year. That's a really good one. And if you factor in that a lot of this has come down Aaron Gordon has not been his best self, and usually he's a part of that. I think you look at that and say, that's really encouraging. We haven't had it's actually been fewer minutes than typical with the fully healthy starting lineup, as we'll talk about here in a second. But the fact that they're right there with AG not fully firing, and then we know that the bench, especially recently, has started to figure something out. So if your starters can be at the same punch, but your bench has something else cooking now, to me, that is a real sign that the Nuggets can be something more than what we've seen.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I actually still think there's a chance that...
Are you going to live, Kale? That was a tough one. Holy crap. What's going on here?
I know, it's contagious.
What's going on?
I think there's a chance that they are building towards, I don't want to say the most complete, but the least maybe predictable and rigid kind of top 7 and top 8 that we've seen so far. Now, they've got to get there, but... Yeah. I mean, I just thought as they honed in on that pecking order, it made them the best version of themselves. And now there's just a little bit of the rest of the league has changed, your roster has changed. But I do think you want to get to a point where it's just not so easy to know exactly what they're doing. And I think they're kind of getting there, man. I think they're kind of to me, guys play with a certain freedom right now that's a little different than just the ball is either in one spot or the other.
Yeah.
Now, everything in the playoffs tightens up. You're not going to get as many transition opportunities. Defenses are better. The ball won't pop quite as much. But I like this look. I like that they're more egalitarian and less predictable.
Because we work in a corporate world, even though we try to be pretty anti-corporate in what we produce, we've all sat in these meetings where they're brainstorms. Everybody's throw out an idea, and the first hour of this meeting is just everyone gets a chance to throw out what their opinion is of what we should do or how we should approach a thing. And then it's like the next hour is, okay, here's all of our ideas. Let's whittle it down. What is it? I almost feel like the pre-All-Star portion of this season has been the brainstorm. Oh, the Russ Jokic 2-man game. Oh, Christian Brown's out in transition.
Yeah.
Like, all right, Porter's stepping outside a little bit more. Like, we got everybody, we brainstormed it, and now you need to go to the whiteboard and say, okay, we have all of these things, but we can't do all of them all the time. So where's the compromise to be made so that we find out what we are?
Nuggets in a room building out their menu. We've got our main dishes, our side dishes, and our seasonal.
Actually, pull it up, Kill. We're doing it again. We're pulling the menu now.
No, I actually do completely agree. That's kind of what I meant with my hangover take. Like, there is still, as nice as that is, there ultimately will still be sort of a pecking order and identity.
Yeah.
And I do think they'll probably move closer back to mostly Jamal and Jokic, but
I think it was kind of important, this run that they're on with Russ out, to be honest with you, because Russ has been great. It's not a fault of his.
I agree, man. He's been great. I mean, look, a backup point guard on that deal, coming in and eating a lot of innings and keeping things alive while guys are out or Jamal isn't, that's awesome. But I do think it's good to kind of get more, like Murray and Jokic have been amazing together in this stretch.
Yeah.
And it's kind of reminded us of at the core of what the Nuggets still do. Diversifying is nice, but this is probably still your best punch.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see that too.
A statistical anomaly, the Nuggets this deep into the season at the All-Star break, their number one most played lineup, which is what I think will be their we'll talk about Russ starting next week or not, but Murray, Christian, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic, that lineup's only played 262 minutes together. Last year it was like 1,000. You get a ton with your starting lineup. You're getting tons and tons of reps. They're on pace to get maybe 350 minutes together. That's really low and kind of surprising. Now injuries have been the reason for that primarily, but perhaps also it's because to your point, the Nuggets do have more options. This is the most the Nuggets have ever staggered, gone to different things, and maybe this is a sign of things to come. They always are into the number one 5-man lineup. They're nowhere close this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's an underlined storyline is how little part of the season that's been at all. I mean,
AG's missed a lot.
It's almost hard to overstate, right? I mean, this was a guy who was once talked about as the second most important player or third most important player on the team behind Jamal. And he has missed, half of the season essentially?
Yeah.
And even when he's been back, he's kind of been hurt. So the fact there is... I think that intended starting lineup probably should be the one rolling into the playoffs, but it is a little weird how little we've seen of it. I do still think it will probably be a really, really good look and something they kind of move back to over the course of this stretch. But it is weird, man. It's part of what's made this season so fun to talk about. The fun, if not also at times frustrating. There's just layers to this. For the longest time, we knew what the top 5 and the top 6 was with almost no give. And now
it's true. It's interesting.
You know what I mean? I found myself going back and forth because it's just kind of interesting. What is the best look? I don't know if we know for sure. And largely because the intended started lineup is barely played together.
But I think what's cool about what you're saying, though, is in prior years, it's always felt like a compromise. Oh, KCP's out. Where do we go there? You had Bruce for a while there, and that kind of worked. But, Jamal's out. Where do we go there? Right now, while Russ is not better, in my opinion, than Jamal Murray at this very stage, if he replaces Jamal Murray in the starting lineup, you're like, oh, they're good but different now. Christian Brown, same thing. Like, if you have to replace him with a Russ or somebody else, you're like, you can handle that.
Right.
Peyton Watson did admirably in Aaron Gordon's stead for a while. There's different things you throw out, and you're like, okay, they're going to be a different version, but that version works too. And that's something that we haven't seen from the Nuggets.
It's a really good point. And that guys can be confident in those roles when called upon because they've done it in tight fourth quarters, even in the first third of the season when it felt like, oh man, those guys are out there, Julian and Peyton. But hopefully the end result is they all feel that much more confident kind of stepping up in these lineups or spot starts. And so that's kind of what... I think that's what we're trying to get to. We understand the 2-man game is going to be a foundational layer of this. And at some point, you're returning to that. But as you do guys have more confidence and kind of freedom in the roles around that? Do guys feel willing? Do guys feel empowered and able to kind of go and make a play as they're needed to and not just watch those two do their thing? I'm hopeful that's the path they're on. And that some of these injuries have helped them discover that.
And Murray making that quote where he says, I want to feel the game and think the game. Like, honestly, part of that is, Michael Porter is a member of the body. I got to get him going too. Like, what's the best way to leverage him? And I just hope that is the path that he's on. Because even in this 55 piece, he definitely dialed it up his own number for a while, and good for him. It made the game way more fun. I'm not going to complain. He was awesome at it.
Yeah.
But there's a moment where it's like, all right, as we get deeper into this, you got, like, Jokic will do this sometimes. He scores all these points in a row, and all of a sudden he's a decoy. And we almost get mad because we want the numbers. But sometimes that's how it works. And I think as we get deeper into the season, it's going to call for that more and more. Let's take a break. On the other side, the Nuggets are on an 8-game streak. What does it mean to you? How real is it? We're going to go through the games and try to figure that out.
It means everything to me. Hey, if you feel like you've got a good read on your Denver Nuggets, which for the longest time, I don't think any of us really did. But you probably do now. You're probably thinking, this is a team I want to go watch. Whether it's MPJ lighting it up, whether it's Jamal Murray going for career highs or Jokic racking up triple doubles at a rate we've never seen before. Just because you haven't bought tickets before the game doesn't mean you can't get in there. Make sure you're checking game time, even at the last second, all the way down to the last second. You can still get the best seats at the best prices. Check out their new Game Time Picks feature as well. It's essentially a filter and just going to take out all of the noise. So you don't have to sort of worry about shopping and comparing across all the many imposters, competitors. Game Time's got you covered. You can take a look at some of the best deals, even at the last second, to what I think is one of the best shows in basketball right now. And hopefully we'll continue to be out of the break. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Shout out Game Time. And then there's also Bet365, where again, if you feel like you've got a good read on your Denver Nuggets right now, you can go put your money where your mouth is. Or you can join us on the pregame show.
Yeah, don't trust yourself. Trust Superstar Dev.
Trust Superstar Dev. 30 minutes before every game we go live, and those last 10 minutes, Superstar Dev is handing out some winners at Bet365, where it's never ordinary. They are an official partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. And of course, they're good friends of ours as well. When you sign up, use code DNVR365. You're going to get all kinds of offers, custom DNVR bets, early payout offers, all that good stuff. It's great. Sign up, use code DNVR365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5 to get $100 in bonus bets. If your bet wins or loses, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, we are back here, segment 3. You guys might be thinking, oh my God, there's no Nuggets game this weekend. There's not going to be any DNVR Nuggets content. False! Superstar Dev is headed out to the Bay.
Heck yeah.
I'm telling you guys right now, Dev is the best. He's going to get some really interesting stuff. He's going to text us at 3 a.m. and be like, I'm out right now with LeBron. It's crazy.
It's so true, man.
What people don't know about Dev is he ends up in the craziest situations 100% of the time.
Yep. I don't even know if Dev gets invited. He just ends up.
He just ends up
there. And then he's cool enough that people are like, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, that guy's cool,
I'm
man.
sure someone invited him.
So I'm so excited to see him with RG. Is this his first solo assignment?
Yeah,
I think it is.
No, we sent him to a playoff game.
That's right.
That's true. And he met a bunch of famous people.
He did. In Miami.
So it happens, man. So I'm excited for that. Stay locked to our channel because I'm sure it's going to be just a bunch of stuff going up on our social and on our YouTube page. The Nuggets are on an 8-game win streak, as we've mentioned 1,000 times. You
want to say it one more time?
The wins at Philadelphia, at Charlotte, New Orleans, Orlando at home, at Phoenix, Portland at home. Not exactly a murderer's row. You can kind of see it right there, the games, but they did win. And Jokic didn't play a lot of fourth quarters over this stretch. They were pretty dominant wins. A lot of great things happened. So how do we assess this? Like, I want to ride the high. I'm riding it pretty high, but is there something to where it's like they just did what they were supposed to do?
Yeah, sure. But I also think they did a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
They dominated. And the truth is, even in years where they were arguably more consistent, they rarely dominated like we've seen at times in these stretches, right? These incredible offensive performances, these high margins of victory, large margins of victory. So as far as playing who's in front of you, I think they did enough to make us feel good. And like that 13 out of 15 wasn't a fluke. Like these guys know how to play. There is a but to it though. I mean, they do have to get this done against better teams or defenses. I think before you feel as confident as you did in 2023, for example, do I feel like this could be the second best team in the West? Yes. Do I feel like they're comfortably better than the way they were talked about all year? Yes. But I don't feel like I know they're winning this thing. I mean, they've got to put it together against some stouter defenses, against some better teams. If they do, if they have that stretch coming out of the break, I think that's when you start to look at it and go, you know what, man, like they really can beat anyone, and let's lock in.
They've only lost 6 times since December 28th.
That's not bad.
That's not bad. Their losses came against San Antonio, which remember that one. They shouldn't have lost that one, but they did lose it. They lost to Boston, which was a good team. They lost to Minnesota, who's a good team. They lost to Chicago, who's a bad team. That's a bad loss. They lost at New York. So they lost, but with the exception of the Chicago game, they were all quote unquote good losses or, tough losses. And then they've beaten everybody else. But when you go through the wins, the best win in that entire stretch we just went over is probably Detroit at home, which they were favored by a lot.
Totally.
They won it.
Totally.
Even Sacramento, you could say, because remember, Sacramento was on that run and they beat them 132 to 123. Maybe you want to count that one. So Denver has not dropped, with the exception of the Chicago game. They haven't dropped a bad game since then, and they have some like B- wins. It does get tougher here, but the thing I'll tell you is I think it's worked out exactly the way the Nuggets needed. I don't know that they would have won a bunch of tough games over this last 3 weeks. Honestly, I don't know. If they had a tough schedule, I think it would have been pretty tough. But I think they needed to get good, easy wins, and do them well.
Right,
I think
right.
they needed Murray to see a 55-piece, Michael Porter to have 3 straight 30-point games. So in a weird way, when I look back at this win streak, the way I feel about it is the Nuggets did what they were supposed to do. It's not that impressive. But in doing so, they made themselves better so that I expect them to be a lot better in this upcoming tough stretch.
Right. They used it as the ramp up stretch. They got better in this period, right? They didn't just take care of their job. I think coming out of this stretch of tunnel, I think they're like a better team. But now they have to do it against better teams. But I do think you're right. Like this was the injection of, hey, the bench guys are playing better. Hey, Jokic rested this fourth quarter. Hey, Mike can do it. Now Jamal can do it. CB's been doing it. That, I think, has breathed life into what this team can do together, how fun it is to come to work together. But, of course, they got to still do it, I think, before you sit there and go, watch out, OKC. There's more convincing work to be done. I do think they did enough in that stretch to make me believe that, yeah, there's a higher ceiling here and something special they're working towards.
So one thing that's interesting, the Nuggets last year had 28 10-point wins. They have 25 right now. They're on pace to break that by quite a bit, meaning that's like blowouts. I mean, 10 points in today's NBA is not really a blowout, but still, last year 28, this year 25 with 30 still to go. That means something to me too, that Denver has the ability to blow teams out.
Blowing teams out, and then like guys resting on the bench and actually not really even coming back in is just not something they've been able to do. It's honestly something we've lamented about this team. We've kind of couldn't believe, for all the wins they've racked up and the peaks we've seen, that we hadn't necessarily seen that, right? Along with the win streaks, kind of bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
So there is something to watching them drop the hammer being really fun and cathartic and like, yeah, man, have a killer instinct. The problem is they just have to maintain it too, because sometimes they play bad teams and they don't bring that instinct and they can still lose to anyone.
Do you remember back in November when we were talking about Jokic getting worn out? Because he was playing ridiculous amounts of money, like almost 40 minutes a night. He was playing early on. And I think when we step back, like some people were like, we need to rest him now. I think for injury purposes, it always made sense. You don't want somebody pushing so hard that they injure themselves. But when a lot of people were saying you need to rest him because he's ready for the playoffs. And I was like, I don't think rest in October and November works that way. It's like you need to sleep a lot today so next week you're not tired.
Right.
It's like that's not going to do anything for me. And I think this next stretch is the point where Denver can wear themselves out if they're not careful.
I agree.
But I think Denver has gotten to a point, to your point, like Jokic has caught up on sleep. He hasn't been playing in the fourth quarter. He's caught up on his sleep.
He's entering the All-Star break fewer total minutes played than last year. So there is a time
There's
of year.
that Arctic front that came in, although today it's kind of summery. That's why Colorado rules. You've never cold for more than like 4 days.
It is. Some idiot made himself sick by walking to work last night, though. So
Do you think you made yourself sick?
totally, dude. I'm so unwell. What were we talking about?
The Denver Nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I do think, though, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. Like, here's what I think. Are they pushing too hard? Okay, so they've got some of these good teams coming up. Do they just try Zeke Naji anyway? And maybe we lose this one.
Why not?
But we tried it.
I hope so. I honestly, sincerely hope so.
I kind of think they should. I wonder if they can. I think they're going to hold on to this 3 seed. So I don't know if you want to kill yourself going for the 2. Maybe if you guys can kind of keep the expanded rotation thing going. I think that's what the balance would look like, as opposed to last year where they tied the franchise record and then looked like they were out of gas.
If we look ahead, Charlotte, the Lakers on Saturday. By the way, how fun is that? Go to the game if you can. Don't let all those LA dorks who were wearing Mavs jerseys last week or now wearing their Lakers jerseys, don't let them take over the arena. But if you're not going to the game, Saturday night at the DNVR Bar, right after the All-Star break, where things get real, they got the Lakers.
Dude, and that's the chance for the win streak.
And a chance to break the best win streak, a 10-game win streak. Like, Saturday night, February 22nd, DNVR Bar. I'm penciling that one in. I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure I'm here for that one because that one's going to be incredible. Also, it's on ESPN, which is always fun. After that, they got the Pacers at Indiana, at Milwaukee, at Detroit, at Boston. You come home and you have Sacramento, Phoenix. Then you go at Oklahoma City for 2 games in a row. Woo. Then you're back home for Minnesota and then the Lakers again on March 14th. That's the run. After that, you get Washington. But of all those games, Vogt, which one are you most excited about that I just read off? I'll give you some of the ones that I think you're going to be. Lakers on Saturday. At Boston, March 2nd. They're going to have a day off, so they'll have to be rested for that one on ABC.
Weird that you picked that one.
At Oklahoma City 2 times in a row. It's kind of weird that they play 2 of them in a row. They got Minnesota at home. They have the Lakers later in the year at home. So which one of those games most entices you?
Obviously, I'm going to say it's the Boston. No, it actually is the Thunder games. It's the Thunder games. Denver's best win of the year, a convincing shorthanded win against OKC.
I remember that.
It did happen.
They're going to have Chet and Hartenstein.
They're going to have Chet and Hartenstein, but the Nuggets, I think, are a better team than they were then. Now, the OKC has consistently been great, so that's not... I would just like to see it, man. Let me tell you this. Of all of those games, if the Nuggets look real good in those 2, like...
You're right.
Well,
the thing about that one is no matter what happens in the first game, the second game, I think, will be dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Because, first of all, it's on the second night. They're back-to-back. At Oklahoma City, you play on Sunday, and then you play again on Monday. The first one's the real one because it's on ABC. The first one is going to be the one where both teams go. And if Denver wins, I feel like Denver takes their foot off the gas for game 2. If Oklahoma City wins, I feel like Oklahoma City takes their foot off the gas for game 2.
Yes. Here's the thing, though. And I think this is actually less about the 2 guys and more about their teammates. MVP conversation could swing pretty heavily in those 2 games.
Close enough to the finish line.
Close enough to the finish line. Like, look, the Thunder are so far ahead of the Nuggets right now in the standings. But if the Nuggets are the 2 seed and they've beaten the Thunder 2, maybe even 3 times, and Jokic looks amazing. Conversely, if you're an SGA teammate, maybe you really want this for him. You guys win the first one, the second one comes around. Maybe you just give a little more. But here's my point. I could almost give and take the rest of them, man. Because
really?
I mean, look, not actually, I don't want them to lose all of them, but here's my point. Just
They're all great.
If they can beat those, I think the Nuggets are pretty clearly the second best team out west right now. Almost by default, because someone has to be. And yeah, man, if they look good against the Thunder in that stretch, I'm going to go, let's go, man.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Bring me the 7-game series against any of these teams. Let's do it.
I think for me, it's probably that Lakers one. I mean, I don't know if you saw, they got Alex Len.
Dude, that actually, I did have trouble falling asleep last night.
Yeah. Jackson Hayes has actually been playing really well.
I've seen that as well.
Yeah, they're really excited about him.
Thank God, no Mark Williams.
I just would love, they just lost to Utah. You're going to come out of the All-Star break. Who knows where they're at there? But it just would be fun. Like, Denver has always demoralized them, and it would be great for them to have their moment of like, we got Luka, we're excited. What happens? Oh, 30-point loss to Denver. Like, some things never change.
Yeah.
That would be a great one.
I think be the team of the past and the team of the future, but right now, yeah.
I like the idea. I love the game at Boston just because I do think, after the All-Star break, Boston, they've been a little up and down. Remember how Joey Maz, our guy,
Yeah.
remember how he came out and was like, we're going to be, Lions are always the hunters,
Yeah.
like this. And,
Yeah.
and then they came out like gangbusters, and you're like, damn it, they're doing the thing.
don't know, you
They've
know-
lost focus, though.
I've watched some nature docs. Sometimes lions kind of just sit down and chill, get a little lazy. They're
That's
not
what they've
always
been
hunting.
doing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for most of the day, actually.
They spend a lot of time laying down.
At Boston, though, I think is great because, that Boston game,
Of
it's just
course.
a chance. Like, Denver kind of had Boston's number, and it would be great to go into
know.
Boston that late in the season and just plant the little seed of, hey, Boston, you got to deal with Cleveland and the Knicks. That's going to be tough. But if you get to the finals, you better pray Denver's not there. That'd be a great
I think
statement
so,
one.
too, yeah.
And then to your point, that first Oklahoma City game one, I think, would be phenomenal. We're going to wrap up today's show, and I want you guys to help us out by, let's take a moment and enjoy the best moments of the Nuggets season. And it doesn't even have to be best moments. It could just be best things that have happened this season. So super producer Kale, keep your eye out in the chat for good suggestions. But let's talk through what are some of the things that have happened this year that you're most, you've liked the most. If you have number one,
There are some great recent examples. So I'm going to go back just a little bit. I'm going to take the double triple double, my friend.
that was very
The
vibey.
double triple double was pretty cool.
Which
didn't they-
one?
Didn't they
It's
do it
yeah,
happened
twice?
twice. That's happened twice. Well, I think the concept of it.
Yeah, let's just say both. Let's say
Yeah.
the double triple doubles. The double triple doubles for me is way up there. Because look, man, as much as we know that Murray really needs to be Jokic's dance partner, I still love everything about what Westbrook has brought to the table in this team. And particularly this angle of just the Nuggets kind of making it work with this guy. And then also the revisionist history of, well, you know what? He was actually pretty good on the Clippers and the Rockets and actually the Wizards.
Oh,
and the
I don't like this,
and hang on,
yeah.
maybe it was just one team that couldn't figure it out. But he's a point guard with the ball in his hands, and watching two Hall of Fame elite playmakers just sort of exploit each other's IQ on the floor together. Like, this is, Marvel does that weird what if thing. You don't know, whatever. I don't even know.
I know.
Sometimes series will do like what if, and it's just like, what if this character was actually this
What if
character?
Spider-Man
like
could
weird
fly?
spin-offs. But this is kind of one of them, right? Like their whole careers could have come and went. And we never would have thought, what if Russ plays with Jokic? Turns out it's effing awesome. Turns
Yeah.
out it's one of the coolest things that could have happened. So that's up there for me.
The Russ thing just in general, and there was a moment where it was at his highest. I'd have to look at the exact part of the schedule, but Jamal goes down, and you have just a Russ and Yoke two-man game that was going incredible. And of course, that's been one of the best parts of the entire season because everybody, when they signed him, is like, oh. And then October and November were going okay, and they're like, well, you're in the portion of the season where you kind of like him. And then all of a sudden you're in January, and you're like, you know what? You
Still
guys
like 'em.
You guys suck.
Yeah.
We're the cool ones.
Yeah,
Like,
that's actually a you thing, I think.
so that definitely has been a big one. I'm just going to say that Yoke's season, it's just hilarious to
Just
me.
the whole thing.
Well, yeah, because he has 3 MVPs, and I honestly thought LeBron's statistically best season was 2009. He was young. And then you could make a case for 2013 statistically because he was more efficient. But that always comes like in the middle portion of a person's career, early middle portion. And then you could say, well, they are better, but their stats aren't better. The fact that I just thought there was no way Yoke's stats could be better.
Yeah, I know.
And he is better, but I just thought there was no way his stats could be better. And the fact that they're actually not just a little, but way better is like, what are we doing?
It used to be, well, what if he's like a slightly better leader or he smiles more or some shit?
Yeah.
Now it's actually, what if he is better in every statistic?
Actually, what if he's way better as a dominant scorer?
What's the better Yoke moment, though, if we're taking one specific? The 56-point career high?
When they lost to Washington, are you asking me if the loss to Washington was the high of the year?
Or the heave, the 66-foot heave that went in.
So I have the heave on here. That one was obviously very fun. You know what's funny? The heave was as awesome as it was. The bear paw miss heave is for some reason weirdly as fun to me.
Oh, the Highlander palm?
The like where he's like, I only have 0.2. Boosh.
Yeah, just even trying it
And
was
it came
odd.
in within a basketball's width of the basket, which is incredible to me.
Yes, that actually was my favorite. Malone liked that one too. I hope Jokic doesn't give up on that one. He's got his white whales.
He has tried it. He just loves when the clock is like down. Even last night's tip-in, man. I'm telling you, Jokic is bored with the game. Last night he was like, "How much time is on?"
Yeah.
Christian, you go box out. I'm gonna do something dumb.
Dude, we're a 30 we're 2 years and a 30-pack of Natty Light away from him shooting left-handed against the Hawks for 4 quarters.
This is his equivalent. Like I
I
think
know,
that's too
totally.
disrespectful. And Bird had he was disrespectful. He enjoyed it. Yoke is quietly disrespectful.
Right.
He's not going to let you know, but he's actually just playing a game. It will come out, or maybe it'll never come out, but I do think like 5 years from now, Yoke will be like, yeah, do you guys remember that one whatever game? We're like, yeah. He's like, if you notice, only off the glass.
Yeah.
Just like, what?
Yeah. He's like, I actually took 3 dribbles, specifically 3 dribbles on every post move.
And we're like, wow. Yeah.
Well, and that's actually part of what you and I have been getting at when we talked about, the Nuggets title chances and how maybe it's being overlooked that Jokic could possibly just go on the best one we've seen yet. And is that as the Nuggets have struggled to figure this out, Jokic is just quietly gathering data and taking notes.
Yeah.
Like they're playing the Magic. And then I know the Magic aren't good, but the Magic have an elite defense and they're crashing the paint and they're kind of like, well, let's just not let Jokic. He's like, what if I pass to AG now? He's like, okay, that one works. That one doesn't work. Like everyone else is just trying to play well. And Jokic is just kind of like effing around, but also gathering data.
I'm telling you, it's actually why he's heaving a lot. I do think there's something too. He's the most ethical hooper and maybe he's trying to make a point. But I think it's also, he's just like, what else am I going to do? It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I got a free pass to try a 70-footer. I'm
guys,
every game.
I'm good, so I know that. But what can I do this,
Because he took that one. There was like 3 seconds on the clock and he took it. You're like, you didn't have to take that heave.
He's getting excited.
He was like, I kind of had a chance to, so I'll do
He's
it.
getting excited about it.
The Christian Brown dunk on Gobert.
Oh, I forgot about that one.
And then gets a tech because he flexed on him so hard.
Yeah.
That was a great dunk.
That was pretty
And
good.
it felt like the Nuggets were going to win that game. They
That
didn't.
might be number 1. That was just like...
It was a great dunk.
It's such a highlight on CB's ascension this year.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I think the idea of Christian Brown just being you know what we weren't talking about last year? Christian Brown's transition demon. Like he's good at it. He does this or that. But like right now, it's maybe the first thing you say about him is that guy is insane in transition.
His only peer is Giannis statistically, so that does seem relevant. Yeah, Christian's whole season, man.
Yeah.
Christian's whole season, and I almost want to go back and reshare one of the first articles I wrote this season, which is, this front office has rolled the dice on some things, and there's a version where maybe KCP is still here and they get the best out of everyone. I get it. But there was, the second they drafted Christian, it was about, we believe this guy can do this, especially if he plays with Jokic. They were right about that, man. They were right about that. And Christian has proved them right. And I think it's been an awesome part of the season. I'll throw last night on there. I mean, I know it's
Jamal's 55.
I'm going to go with 55 from Jamal
That's
Murray.
recency bias, bro.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Look, man, I think
You're only saying that because it was awesome.
the dialogue about Jamal this year, Jamal himself admitted that he needed to be better. He just wasn't good enough. And that you can just sort of say that in a matter-of-fact way. And now he is. And now he is. So I think our guy Voya put it well on Twitter. He deserved the criticism to start the year. He deserves the praise now. But more importantly than praise or criticism is just what it instills in you from a fandom or media perspective of just looking at this team.
Yeah.
We all thought, okay, Mike's a nice player and Christian's playing well, but if Jamal can't do this, it's all for naught. Well, Jamal scored 55 points last night, so it certainly seems back on the table.
Underrated moment that maybe only I like. I liked Jokic's "a little less paycheck" quote.
Yeah, no, it's awesome,
It's just
dude.
like one of those quotes.
Well,
where
I mean-
I'm from, if you play like that, your paycheck would be a little less.
It's a good moment. It sounds cute. And then look at their record since that moment. It actually becomes a great one. It really kind of mattered, man. Kind of mattered. And, the guys had some interesting quotes about that. We already knew. We kind of knew we had to be better. I still think once you see the guy say that in public, it's a little bit of like, I'm getting there 30 minutes early today. I am.
We're 5 minutes into this segment, and we still haven't brought up the Yeah Mike trilogy.
Well, it's on the list. I got 2 more on here for me, or 3 more. 100%. The Yeah Mike trilogy was incredible, in part because it just felt like the team loved it for him. Like we're talking about all these vibes. All these moments have come, and it's been like, oh, MPJ had a moment. Oh, Pickett had a moment. Zeke had a moment. Like everybody's getting moments here, and I really do think that's part of this thing coming together for them.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And with Mike, too, it's the timing with the trade deadline stuff is obvious, but I think also, too, just is there a ceiling on how good this guy can be or in this role or what? And then we saw the best Mike we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so that was, now hopefully he's healthy, but that just sort of, again, like we were talking at the start of the show, these guys are all young enough that they can still get better together. And I think, we always talk about sort of getting back to where they were, but don't give up on the ceiling getting higher for them as a group and as individuals. And the Mike moment was just hey, actually, if you give this guy enough opportunity and the ball, he is really good.
Yeah.
And it was fun to see.
Peyton Watson's blocks have been fun. We kind of knew that was coming, but watching it, like, he does have games where you're just like, my God, man, this guy covers so much ground.
Great in-person highlights. And I think season ticket holders would agree with me. It's become a staple of the good Nuggets game experience is Peyton having one block that just kind of makes you look at the person next to you like, how did he do that?
Yeah, I like the Dr. Jamal game. It's so true. Just like an Afro game. That's what you need in the regular season. Like,
Philly too.
In Philly,
we're
doing an
Dr.
Afro?
J played.
Also, the biggest Afro. Like,
Yeah.
that thing was huge.
Awesome, man.
And then it went away, which actually makes it cooler.
Last one I have here, the Pickett Zeke redemption tour honestly has been one of my favorite parts of the whole season. Just, it's not that either one of those guys have been gangbusters, through that stretch, but they were just so consistently solid. And, we love a story. Like, we love a redemption arc. We love that these guys got to have a moment and that it was so hard for them that this moment, as small as it is, feels big. And for Zeke and Pickett, it sucks that their story was so close to being written of these guys suck and how are they ever here? It's like now, even if they don't ever play again and get traded away, you'll kind of be like, wonder what could have been, or like happy for those guys, to get opportunity. And I'm glad we got that.
It's also just the hardest part of the professional sports experience to kind of keep perspective on.
Yeah.
We just talked about Jamal and Jokic and Porter, who, for whatever pressure comes and goes, like those guys are here and they're getting paid a lot. And for Jalen and Pickett, it still might not, and came very close to just never really happening.
Yeah.
Now Zeke got paid.
Was there any things we missed in the chat? Any other ones we missed?
No, we covered everything everybody's been saying. There was a little shout out to DeAndre's resurgence.
Sure.
Yeah, DeAndre's had some good moments. Yeah.
Less of a moment, more of a development.
Depends on if you ask Cal. He would say, I think he surprised us all. But
you know what? He has surprised us. Like, you know what? Raise your
longer
hand
than
if this was your plan A.
Cal didn't tell any lies.
That's
He just
right.
told too many truths.
Hey, Cal, no, you're not doing a podcast. All
Some
right, here we
homies
go.
super chatted on a Thursday. Hell yeah.
Shout out to the homies. Nash Sweden, who should we take from the buyout market? Some names?
No, I don't think they're taking anybody from the buyout market. They would have to first buy a player out.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Cronkies will do pay for something that you've already paid for.
Yeah,
No,
that's
no
kind
way.
of, it's not should they, it's just that's the thing to think about. Big Honey, can we stop the mall hate now? He's been balling. Blue Arrow.
I mean, one, have you ever been on the internet? If you go looking for something, you will find it. If you're asking for me personally or from our staff, call balls and strikes, man. We knew all along Jamal has this in him. I feel like he's playing really well right now. Does it take away from the slow starts or all that stuff? No, but for me, that's in the past. We're
Right.
at this moment in
Now we're
time. So
here.
it's like, you know what? It's great to see him playing this way. And I have confidence that we're going to get the best version of him coming up.
Yeah. I'll embrace it now and complain again next October. We can circle back. Cedric is everywhere. No, Kale, get Adam a beanie and let's get 40 before 20. I love that 40 before 20 is still on the table.
I do
Still
love
on
that
the
it's still on the table. You know what's funny? I don't look good with a beanie, man. I just don't do
Really?
it. Yeah, I think you have to have facial hair to pull off a beanie.
One thing is, what people don't realize about hats is if you just do it enough.
Then
And
that's who you
and
are.
Then
Like,
that's who you are.
Yeah, and I never do it. Remember, I've worn a hat on this show like 3 times, and
Yeah,
people are
I
like, "What the hell, Adam?"
And the problem is you stop there.
I have such good
Adam
hair.
in a hat would probably be as jarring as when I see D-line without a hat.
Connor Pasica, 50 spot. Thanks, Connor. P-Wop blocking shy
Whoa.
by a fingertip. Have a good All-Star break, guys. Yeah, that's a great one.
It's a good one, man.
That's a great one. DJ Seahawk, 3v3. Cedric, Josh, Big Honey versus Vote, Adam, and Kale. Jesus, Adam,
Easy-
you ready to carry?
Yeah. Easy. That's us in 11-0, 11 zip.
I
That's
will
how that
have
one's
3
going.
rebounds and 2 assists.
Hell yeah, man. Set some screens.
Yeah, I can do that.
Maybe a flagrant foul on Cedric.
I can do
If
that.
you can do that, maybe.
Just kidding,
How
Cedric.
many flagrants are we allowed? Just a couple of them? Just kidding, Cedric. Just kidding, buddy.
We got to kill another minute. So anything else you guys got on your mind?
Yeah, Superstar Dev, man. I'm telling you. I can't wait to see what happens to him out there. It's possible he makes no content and we just don't hear from him.
Also
but
true.
he has a great time.
He's going to come back and go, you know what the best dinner spots in San Francisco are? That's not why we sent you. But I'm glad you found it out.
The man, I'm telling you, it's going to be interesting. I guess, Julian Strother playing in Rising Stars tomorrow. We're going to talk a little All-Star Net tomorrow. We're also going to talk about Russ in the starting lineup. Should it happen, should it not? I think we all kind of know, but we'll walk through the different layers of that. But Julian and the Rising Stars do anything for you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, the Nuggets never have a second participant in any way.
Do you think him and Yoke will hang out there?
That's a good question. I going to ask Julian when he gets back. I'm going to say no, but good for Julian. Hey, Julian's in a tough spot, like with good reason. It's just sort of where he's at. There's a spotlight on him. You know, we've talked down on him, I think, or on his prospects of being an impact defender in the playoffs. It's just nice for him to get this moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a lot of pressure on you, but actually you've done some good things. Congratulations. Go enjoy it.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for hanging out. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, just because it's a favor to us. Oh, hey, the alarm's off, Kale. Let's get out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.